have you ever stopped, paused, and thought about our bodies that just heals a cut? And I'm not talking in understanding the biological or the scientific expression of that. I'm talking about the wonder of it. My heart beats without asking me permission. It beats because it beats. Welcome to Intuition, Your Joy Compass. This is the podcast where intuition gets embodied and joy leads the way. This is where we integrate your humanness and your soul. They don't have to compete and they don't have to work against each other. Your soul comes in with joy. Your human self wants to learn joy. It just makes sense to merge them. I'm Vicki Baird, your intuitive guide, and also your wisdom-led mindset coach. And I want to bring the truth that you do not have to transcend your human experience to feel lit up and to feel aligned. You need to integrate it. And that is what we will do here. Hi there. Thank you for joining me for this episode. And any time that you spend listening to this podcast, I really do appreciate it. I started it so many years ago that I don't even remember now. And the purpose was to just put some information out there that can help us consider being in awe of being human, merging our intuitive self, our soul self with that, and then learning to embrace the joy of being human. And that's what today is about. I would love for us to be more human on purpose. So we're going about our day and we're human by programming. Some could say by default, but I think by desire. And I just think that we get so busy and focused on sometimes what's not working instead of what is working, that we forget being human is actually pretty amazing. And we spend so much time, there's such a messaging around trying to recover from what has happened that we forget we're also here to discover who we are. We're here to be curious about the whole human experience and to be amused, I think, is an important direction. Flummoxed sometimes is such a great word. And we end up being more focused because the subconscious is wired this way, negatively to positively. So I decided, you know what? I'm getting back on this messaging of, come on, being human is funny. It's ridiculous. It's entertaining. It's incredibly difficult at times. And it can, rip your heart center right out of your body, it seems. And yet it's still freaking amazing. And yes, absolutely, healing matters. So being aware of what has happened in the past, if there's true trauma there, I do not mean that you were stuck in the drive-through for more than 10 minutes and that created trauma. It did not. Stop it. If there's actual trauma there, there's true trauma, then yeah, healing matters. If you broke your ankle, healing matters. If you did a workout that absolutely knocked your socks off and you're really sore, healing matters. Taking that time, taking that rest, and being in appreciation of your body, it matters. Recovery matters as well. But recovery isn't the destination. It's not where we want to live all the time. Like when you do that workout, a recovery day is really important. Pushing and pushing and pushing is just going to lead to your body breaking down. Recovery matters. I'm actually taking a recovery week as I record this. It's my birthday. And I purposely didn't book this week up. I decided my 57th birthday gift to myself was going to be a really light week. I have not even been to a horse farm this week. It's now Thursday as I'm recording this. And oh, that's not true. I was there on Monday. Whoops. But it was a really light day. There was plenty of staff. I left. I decided that this is my recovery week. that my body has been going really hard for 2 years doing this farming stuff, and I wanted a week where I could do whatever I wanted during the day. Today, the lawn needs to be mowed. It's 100 freaking degrees out there, but that's okay. We'll do it in increments. So recovery is important, but it's also not the destination. Life is the destination. Life is the intention. And I want to talk about, and I will talk about, the wonder of being human and how our intuition, our brain, our humanity all works together to create a life that can feel deeply alive. We don't have to walk around as disconnected, disassociated, broken corpses. That's not living life. So part of this, obviously, is because of going into a birthday. Did you know that the 3 months before your birthday, you start to have these awarenesses and shifts and focuses? It doesn't really have anything to do with the day coming up in a psychological way. It's more an energetic return to that trip around the sun, and our system naturally starts being more reflective. I feel like we could do this year round. And for you January babies, I'm so sorry, because that means you also get the collective pondering, but you also get your own birthday pondering. So what I've done this week is spent so much time with myself in quiet, no music, no podcast, no book going. I've sat and stared off into space and I've asked, what is it that I want to experience? I organized my office. Still have to dust it. Anybody else out there not really love dusting? It's not hard. I just avoid it. Kind of like when you can write your name in something, leave your mark, right? But no, it's gross. It's got to be dusted. I have in this leading up to my birthday, I've used it as an opportunity to leave a commitment I had that's no longer aligned. We are planning to hike Franconia Ridge in New Hampshire, actually for Mike's birthday, which is exactly a month after mine. So that's his gift. I am tending to the garden. Tomatoes are starting to pop, and I'm spending more time with, we still call them the kittens. They're a year old now, but they're crazy boys, and they are most of the time, in the most inconvenient of times, they want to be in my face or on my keyboard. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be grateful for this, for the joy that it brings my life, and try not to be frustrated with them. I'm not saying I'm 100% there. But what this time has done is it's helped me remember that being human is wonderful. It's weird. It is heartbreaking. It's hilarious. And sometimes you go through all those feelings before lunch. And I really think that we've lost the appreciation of how extraordinary that really is. That we get to go through all of those emotions if we'd like to. We get to experience the wonder of planting something and have it come to fruition, but we also get to experience planting of something and have it not take off. I cannot grow cucumbers. I don't know what my problem is, but I just buy them now because I love the fresh cucumbers, but I can't. They do just, I'm not doing something right. So I get to experience the joy in the garden and the frustration. So I know doing this for so long in the personal development or self-awareness mindset, doesn't matter what you call it, but there's a fixation on actually, quote unquote, fixing ourselves. And I have said for decades, the only one who can fix something is a veterinarian, because they can neuter, they can spay. We call it fixing here in the States. They can fix an animal. We can't fix everything. I just don't believe anything is broken, but we will hear concentrate on healing more. You have to understand your traumas to move through them, become more, do more, know more. And eventually we begin believing there's a finish line where we finally become enough, where we are complete, where we are omniscient, like where we have this knowing about us. And I know that's not something that happens because even after we go through all our human experiences, lifetime after lifetime, we then elevate into what is considered or called spirit guides. And we all have spirit guides. So then we become spirit guides for the humans that will come after us if we don't destroy this complete race, human race as it is. But that's the evolution. So, and even then we start at as junior spirit guides until we learn and figure out how to drive that thing and then go on to expand even further. So I want to challenge this idea that there's ever a finish line where you feel like enough or you feel like you know enough. That's a tricky word. I'm going to challenge it because I don't believe that we're here to become someone else or to arrive in someplace concrete. It's always going to be changing and growing. And there's a way to be excited about that rather than feeling less than or that you haven't done it yet. I hear all the time because I tend to work with women who are in their 40s and older. I hear often, I should know this by now. And my pushback on that is why? Who told you that? Who set up that measurement that by the time I'm 57. So by the time you're 57, you should know all this. I had awarenesses about myself last week that brought me a little bit to my knees, and I'm grateful for that. But I don't know what filing cabinet they were hiding in. I'm just grateful that I opened it up and it came out. I do not believe any of us are broken. I believe life is asking us to experience ourselves more fully, to really embrace the parts of us that don't know, the learning, the expansion, the I don't know of the world. I believe we're all becoming more aware, thankfully, and everybody's going to do that at their own pace. And I really know that our saboteurs, our left brain, our judge, our critic, inner biatch, it's incredibly good at convincing us that we're unfinished or that we're not living up to whatever the potential is. Our wisdom side would never say that. It would say, huh, that's fascinating, which I say on a daily basis. Interesting. Tell me more about that. I wonder why I say that all the time. Mike and I have had these conversations because he loves to help people, but he's not really a people person. If you were stuck on the side of the road, he's stopping. He's going to say, "Are you okay? How can I get you help?" He's not really going to know much about how to fix the car, but he'll know how to get AAA there, or he'll wait with you until AAA shows up. But yeah, he's not the one that necessarily wants to be with people often and doesn't necessarily want to delve into why someone would do what they do. I do. So we have had conversations where he thinks I'm okay with somebody's behavior or how they're walking about in the world or how he perceives they've treated me. He thinks I'm okay with it simply because I'm asking about it. But that's my wisdom, that's my sage side, that's my soul side saying, "Interesting. Tell me more about this." It doesn't mean I lack boundaries. I have very good boundaries. But I love to be curious. And the subconscious mind that we all have, our left brain, it wants to attack or it wants to shut down, where the right brain and our soul self wants to explore, wants to be curious about things. So this is where intuition comes in because it's not something mystical. It's not even something that only some people have or an expanded gift. Everybody has it. It's deeply human. It's our first sense. Remember, the podcast used to be called Intuition, Your First Sense. It's so much part of our ability to navigate being human, but it gets shut off. It gets turned down until we start discovering it again. And our intuition will always speak before your fear does. It's just that fear is loud. It tells you everything your parents ever thought, your teachers ever thought, somebody in the news thinks. But your intuition always speaks first. You just have to learn how to turn down the noise so that you can hear the subtlety of it. Maybe you knew a relationship had changed before having the evidence. Maybe you knew there was an exit coming from a job or an organization or a workout routine. The various ways I have used over the last 10 years to stay physically fit just blows my mind, the things I was interested in for a certain period of time, and then it lost its wonder and its luster, and I'm like, "Ah, let's try this. Let's move our body in a different way." Maybe you walk into a room and you can feel the tension that's there and everybody's got a smile on their face. Maybe you feel peaceful about a difficult decision. Your logical mind says that this could be a challenging conversation, but you feel so peaceful. That's where I believe true joy in life lives, is when you have those knowing moments, and no matter what happens, you aren't going to be swayed. Maybe you know something wasn't aligned, even though it looked perfect on paper. There have been Ah, there have been some opportunities that would have been incredibly lucrative for me to sign on, but it felt awful to do, and I passed. And I'm so grateful I did, because almost immediately after, I realized, wait a minute, I don't need to have my hyperachiever be in charge to have a very good life. So I know most people access their intuition, and the challenge isn't always hearing it, feeling it, knowing it, because it comes in different for all of us. The challenge is trusting it. And we are beautifully designed so that our brains protect us. They're constantly asking, is this safe? Is this okay? Should I do this? And yet, our intuitive side is constantly asking a different question. Is this true? Is this what it seems to be? That could be perceived as something that is fearful or lacking, but it's not. It's simply asking for the data. Intuition is so boring in that way. And anybody who's making it like this big flashy show, yeah, don't listen to them. Because intuition is calm and it's curious and it's built on the data that I trusted before, and you begin to bring evidence in, and then it'll work better and better. And I believe that's where the curiosity comes in handy, because if you're curious, you will want to know, why did I read that situation wrong? You won't be, oh man, I read it wrong, I'm so dumb. You'll be like, wait a minute. How did I read that in a lack of accuracy? When they begin to work together, when you bring them both together, life really changes for the benefit of you from a physical standpoint, emotional, financial, relationship, evolutionary. It's amazing what happens when you step out of recovering from life, recovering from that childhood, recovering from that relationship, recovering from that boss, and you shift your attention to discovery, to understanding and being curious and being explorative, exploratory, explorative. Pick one of those, whichever one works for you, towards what could this be? What could this mean? And recovery is important. and it creates space for the discovery. Was a time I was running a lot, and then I hurt my back on a bike accident and I couldn't run anymore. And trust me, the grief I went through around that, because I, it wasn't about ever about winning any races or anything like that. It was the time and the energy expression that running gave me. Mostly because I ran so slow, I had plenty of time. But I had to recover my body in a blown disc, and that opened up space for discovery. It's where I learned that I really do love the slowing down process of Pilates and of yoga. And it's where I realized functional training is what my body loves to do. I'm very strong and not necessarily built for cardio. But if your car gets stuck in a ditch, I can absolutely help you push that puppy out. Recovery is important. What I want to do is encourage you to lean more into discovery, to even make that an intention. I'm going to discover something about my life. I had the most beautiful experience in this past month. So I've been at 2 horse rescues, and there was a horse at the first rescue, Fortuna, who she could never find her space there. I think there were too many animals for her, and it was stressful. And I always saw in her this intelligence and this softness and this beautiful being, and yet she was so contrary to anything we asked her to do. I could get her to calm, to take a breath, and to go with me, but it took effort and it took a lot of time, and when you have that many horses to take care of, you just don't have that kind of time, unfortunately. The ice was seeing that she was having a really difficult time there, and she wasn't receiving the care her body needed, and this new rescue that I'm at happened to specialize in horses with Cushing's. And did they necessarily have the space for her? No, but they made the space. I'm gonna start crying. They made the space for her. And in that, I got to watch her show up and be the horse I've seen for years, but wasn't able to create the situation for her that she needed. And I know she knew she was home the minute she came off that trailer, because some of the behaviors we saw at the first rescue, we just don't see there. She's still her spunky self. But what had happened in the transition is she was quiet, as rescue animals tend to need that transition time. But pretty quickly, she recovered. She calmed down because she was feeling from the other horses, "This is a great place to be, lady. Welcome. That's your room over there. How you doing?" She recovered, and she was given the space to recover, including figuring out her perfect nutrition, which we're still working on, and being loved by people, being groomed, being introduced to horses in a very safe manner so that she could feel the situation out. And then you could feel her take a breath and realize that, oh, I'm complete with recovery. I needed to recover. Now can I discover? Can I figure out what it means to be part of a herd? Because in the other place, she was okay. You could put her with other horses, some of them, but there were some that she just didn't like. She didn't like their energy, and she would be reactive. And that happens with all horses. It's not like she was broken or anything. But so she has now become this horse that comes to the front of her stall because she knows that she's going to get to go outside. She's with 2 other horses, ironically, who didn't like other horses either, and they've created their own herd. And it's just so freaking beautiful that after she had the time of recovery and was allowed to recover, she's now discovering, and she's really hooked on Blue, who's in the next stall. He's a handsome guy, and Although they're not turned out together, every night they go back to their stall and he helps her feel safe. He helps her feel wanted. And I feel as I'm watching her, it has given me more of an appreciation for pausing and for taking our time and also for being brave because my experience of her was she didn't like being outside. She didn't like being in a round pen or a pasture. And she has realized that this is part of her day. She's not going to be put out there and left. She's going to be brought back in, and there's plenty of hay, and she gets amazing food. There's always fresh water. Somebody's always telling her how cute she is because she's pony size. She's only 14 hands. She's adorable. And she has stopped her pacing and she's learning and discovering what it means to be decompressed, to be calm. And in watching her, because they were like, "Oh, she's pacing so much." I'm like, "She's not. She's not. This is only 10% of what she used to pace." And I'm so grateful to have both experiences. And because sometimes that's true of us, right? We're just in a situation that doesn't fit us. It's not bad. It's not abusive. It just doesn't fit us. And having the bravery to ask, because for me to ask Spirit's promise, "Did you mean it? Will you take her?" I'm not somebody who tends to ask for things. I just will do it myself. Hyper independent, which annoys the crap out of my partner. But to ask and to receive, and then now she's doing therapy sessions, and I had the benefit of having a therapy session with her, which is just, oh, it's just blowing my mind. And this is what I mean about discovering and understanding that we're not all that different from a horse that moves in her senior years. So this horse is almost 30. Okay. For horses, that's pretty ancient. And she had a lot of babies. Her body was asked to do a lot of things, not at the previous rescue, obviously, before in her life. But she's not standing around saying, "At my age, I can't learn something new." She's taking it in and realizing that she can embrace this newness and she can discover what it's like to have friends. So, this is how healing, when you do the healing, and that might be therapy, that might be somatic work, it might be taking long walks in the woods. It looks different for everybody. But when you do that, you get to transition into discovery. And I absolutely know that we all come to a place in our life. You know how they say, "I'm in the season of." We can all be in a season of, what would I like to discover? So, what would that look like for you? Would that look like trusting yourself? Would it look like trying watercolor? Would it look like starting a business? Would it look like allowing yourself to laugh more? Would you take the trip? Would you adopt 2 orange kittens because you just know your life needed some fun? Would you take on planting a pot, and then maybe you move to a raised bed, and then maybe it becomes a crop, who knows? Would you agree to hike a mountain range that is considered pretty tricky, knowing that the minute you ask yourself to go vertical, you're gonna be asking for an oxygen tank? Yeah, that's what's gonna happen with Franconia Ridge. Like, discovery isn't always dramatic. I saw a recipe for something that I'm going to try later, and it's one of those where you end up making kind of like meringue. You have to whip the egg whites until they come to a peak and then test them by putting the bowl over your head and hopefully it doesn't drop on your head. Now, I've done this in a cooking class. I've never done it at home because honestly, I was afraid of failing. For my birthday, I bought the egg whites because I'm not separating out the mini eggs. I bought the egg whites, and I am going to make that for my birthday. It's called cloud bread, really high in protein too. It's supposed to be fluffy, so that's happening later. Discovery isn't dramatic. It's that. It's going to the store, buying the egg whites, and saying to your saboteurs in your head that, so what if it fails? You know what? I have a canine that is going to absolutely love having that as a food topper if it quote unquote fails. Sometimes it's giving yourself permission to enjoy a random Thursday. It does not have to be big because to actually have the joy of being human, we have to be a little bit amazed that we get to do this. Have you ever stopped, paused, and thought about our bodies that just heals a cut? And I'm not talking in understanding the biological or the scientific expression of that. I'm talking about the wonder of it. My heart beats without asking me permission. It beats because it beats. And it beats better when I drink more water. And it performs better when I actually do my cardio. It supports me walking an average of 8 miles on a farm day, so much so that it doesn't even occur to me when I'm out taking a hike and we're at 5 or 6 miles, doesn't even occur to me that we've done that much because my body has gotten used to adding on those miles, mostly because I forget things, honestly. When I went to fill a tub of water the other day and forgot to take the hose. Menopause helps with getting your miles in. But have you ever been amazed at the trees knowing how to turn their leaves upward when rain is coming? Even if you didn't look at the forecast, if you look at the trees and they turn their leaves up, there is definitely rain coming. And I'm so amazed the more I work with animals at how much they're communicating without words, without the need to chatter about. They don't think about their life. Buzz is a street dog. I don't think he thinks about his life on the street at all. He thinks about what our schedule is and how these kittens annoy him too. He's got some holdovers from being on the street, but no way do I think, like right now, he's lying on the chaise directly across from me, snoring. He's not thinking about that. And working with horses, I see the difference in them when there are people on that are high energy and anxious. And then when I'm with other people who are just very matter of fact, grounded, we got to get this done. I see how they're communicating without words, but yet still doing energy. And can you hold a little bit of awe that grief exists because love existed first? Because hope existed first? It's there and it's something to be appreciated and not always lamented. Do your process of healing so that grief can become mourning and then it can become awareness and acceptance. But there's so much in every day to be amazed about that I really encourage you to start appreciating the fact that you don't know everything. That's fun. That's fun. I love asking now. There was a time where, when you, there was a time that it would be very difficult for me to admit I didn't know something because I would feel like I was dumb or I was lacking. Now I love saying, oh, no, I don't know what that is. Tell me what you mean by that. Or like, there's a guy at the rescue is so smart. He's so smart. In every shift, I learned something about history, antiques, gardening, how to work the earth. I just learned so much. And he just says it as a matter of fact, going, and yes, I have checked him. I've looked it up and done some research. And dang, if he's not right. So he's like a professor with the sweetest, sweetest soul. And I love being able to say, I don't know. Tell me about that. Because the older I get, the less interested I am in having all the answers. I'm so much more interested in staying curious and being open to someone else bringing me more information. That's the connection to spirituality. Spirituality isn't escaping our lives or meditating so much that we don't have to deal with the mundane. It's the opposite. It's becoming more awake and more aware that it is weaved through every experience. It's noticing, it's paying attention. It's not doing 85 things at once. It's being present. And it's recognizing that ordinary moments often carry extraordinary wisdom. But if you're not paying attention, if your face is stuck in your phone or you're thinking about how your parents did you wrong decades and decades ago, most people listening to this have lived outside their childhood home longer than they lived in it, and you're still allowing it to control whether you have happiness or not. No, we're not doing that. So participate in the recovery, in the healing, but then use that recovery as a bridge to discovery, to understanding how you can make this life much more fun. I don't know where you are in life right now. Maybe you are in recovery. Maybe you are healing that 5-year-old that's within you. And what a beautiful thing. And then maybe that's where you're focusing. Fabulous. Maybe you're discovering. Maybe you're curious. Maybe you're navigating with an exploration energy. And in all probability, you're doing a little bit of both. But wherever you are, don't rush it. Recovery deserves compassion, space, time, and discovery deserves curiosity, opening, wonder, awe. Both deserve your attention. Both deserve space to even analyze them at times. That would be helpful. And you deserve that too, because this beautiful, messy, complicated adventure of being human isn't something to get through. We're not rushing to that finish line, are we? No, let's not do that. Let's not do that. It's something to experience, right? The human being, not the human doing. So here's something that perhaps you can think about. Where is life inviting you to wonder? Where is it asking you to be that little kid who is first discovering what turning over a rock is like? I know that it's already happening in your life. You have to notice. You have to pay attention. If you want a life that feels fully yours and feels lit up, you have to pay attention. And you have to be willing to be in wonder of how are you, even this human of a collection of souls, well, one soul, cells, a collection of cells, as well as this non-physical being. So I thoroughly enjoy being in the wonder with you, and I wish you the best of all seasons. And I invite you to contact me if you'd like some help in discovering the life that you would like to live. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Joy Compass. I'm so grateful you are here, and I'd just like to leave you with what I would consider a listening agreement. By listening to this podcast, you agree to stay open, curious, and connected to your own intuition. You agree to take what resonates and throw out the rest into your body, into your breath, and into your lived experience. You agree to honor your humanity, trust your soul's voice, and let joy guide your next step. This is not passive listening, and this is not toxic positivity. This is conscious receiving. Thank you so much for being here.